Welcome back to the Filipino FM channel. Today, I asked AI to create the perfect player in Football Manager 2023 so that we could simulate their career and see how they would do. So I went into ChatGPT and asked them if they could please create the perfect player in Football Manager 2023. And this was their response. They said creating the perfect player in Football Manager 2023 is subjective. It depends on individual preferences and team tactics. However, they came up with a player that they described as the perfect player. They even came up with a name, nationality, position, footedness, age, height, and weight, as well as their individual attributes, including their technical, mental, and physical attributes, as well as defensive and mental skills. But that didn't get every single attribute in Football Manager, so I did ask them if they could complete the rest of the attributes. And ChatGPT agreed, giving us some goalkeeping attributes, which we won't use today, but rounding out the technical, mental, and physical skills, as well as their defending and mental skills. We did miss out on corner kicks and penalty taking, which they didn't give a direct attribute to, but we're going to extrapolate based on what the ChatGPT gave as their response. So we're going to take the averages of the attributes that they gave. So let's go into the game and see what ChatGPT's perfect player looks like. And here is ChatGPT's perfect player, 24-year-old Englishman Alex Smith, who I've started off in the Philippines because in some of the previous perfect player, average player series we started off in England and they haven't moved anywhere. So we're putting them in the Philippines to see how they'll actually do. But let's actually take a look at the attributes of Mr. Alex Smith here, because they are fantastic, but they're not perfect, are they? ChatGPT didn't give their perfect player one attribute that's 20, which I found very odd. I think that is something that ChatGPT would know, that Football Manager has a ranking from 1 to 20. I even rated it out of 20, I believe, in one of the questions. So I'm surprised that they didn't give an attribute of 20, but we do have a very well-rounded central midfielder with excellent technical, mental, and physical attributes. I did give them a model citizen personality. I didn't ask ChatGPT for the hidden attributes, but I felt like, to be fair to ChatGPT, that would be the best thing to do. I've also inputted their height and weight that ChatGPT gave them. But again, we have an excellent player here, but I don't know if we have the perfect player. And I don't think Football Manager agrees that with ChatGPT that this is the perfect player. Let me show you. So looking at their current ability, the current ability is only 192. It's not even a 200 current ability. So Football Manager doesn't even agree with AI that this is the perfect player because it's only 192. It's not even as good as Robert Lewandowski or Messi or Ronaldo at their peaks. It's still an excellent player. It's still a 192 current ability Mr. Alex Smith. But I wouldn't say that it's the best player of all time, and I definitely wouldn't say it's perfect. So because of that, I'm giving Mr. Alex Smith, our perfect ChatGPT player, a rival. I made an actual perfect player with 20s for all their attributes, a model citizen personality, but a much younger player to see if there's any differences there. And I have also made them English starting at United City to see if there are any differences in how their career goes. So we have Mr. Alex Smith and Mr. Perfect Player, and we're going to compare their careers until Alex Smith retires, who I assume will retire first, and we're going to see how they do. But before we go to the end of their careers, let's go 1 year into the future and compare how the two players are doing. Maybe Alex Smith's 24-year-old age will give him an advantage, despite the perfect player being a better player. Let's go forward 1 year and see. Welcome back. We are 1 year into the future, and we already have an interesting development. Alex Smith is still in the Philippines, but our perfect player is now at Liverpool in the English Premier Division. Let's actually look to see when he moved to Liverpool. So he moved to Liverpool at the end of the season, but he had an excellent first season. 24 appearances, 6 goals, 29 assists, 16 player of the match and an 8.4 rating. Let's look at Alex Smith and see how he did. Quickly, before we see how Alex Smith did, he is wanted by a number of clubs in England, including Arsenal and West Ham, so he will be getting his big money move as well. But let's look at the career stats. Wow! So he had a lower average rating and less assists, but an astounding 27 goals. I wonder if he maybe moved up top. I did freeze both players' attributes, to be fair to both players. So I did freeze both of their attributes. But wow, an amazing goal total from central mid. Let's look at United City and see how they did in their first season. Unsurprisingly, United City did win 22 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. Perhaps it's actually more surprising that they lost. Looking at their schedule from last season, they did also win the PFL Cup or FA Cup final with the perfect player and Alex Smith both scoring. But I think the true test of who did better will be who won the Player of the Year award. So surprisingly, the Young Player of the Year award wasn't won by our perfect player. The top goal scorer award, of course, won by Mr. Alex Smith with his 27 goals. Both players featuring in central midfield in the Team of the Year. But the real question is, the perfect player won the Player of the Year award with that higher average rating and a ton of assists. I think right now our perfect player might have a slight edge over the ChatGPT perfect player. So that's where we are 1 year into the future. Why don't we go to 3 years in the future and let's see how both players are doing. Welcome back. We are 3 years into the save in 2025, and Alex Smith did get his move to West Ham United. That's a little surprising. Let's see how West Ham is doing in the EPL as of last season. Maybe they surprised us. Okay. They're in the Champions League. That would suggest they won the Europa League, but they only finished 13th. The previous season, 7th. And before that, 17th. I was expecting a little bit more from West Ham if they're signing essentially one of the best players in the world. But looking at Alex Smith's individual milestones, he has had a pretty good career so far. He has broken into the England squad. He was named in the Europa League Player of the Season. He won the Europa League, and it looks like he won the European South American Super Cup with England, suggesting he broke into the England team. We will take a look at that in a little bit. Has he won any individual awards? A lot of individual awards for West Ham, but nothing super significant otherwise looking through that. Let's look at his career stats, and they're pretty good. Really high overall average rating, a few goals and assists, lots of player of the match awards. I wouldn't say he's been amazing. Like, he's not getting tons of goal totals or tons of assist totals, but overall, I'd say he's been a very solid player. Our perfect player, on the other hand, I think has been pretty amazing. Looking at his individual awards, Golden Shoe 3rd place, named the best player in Europe, Champions League midfielder of the season, Young Player of the Year, English Player of the Year, tons and tons of individual awards. Looking at the competitions, also in the England squad, winning the European South American Super Cup, winning the UEFA Super Cup, Community Shield, European Football Championship. We didn't see that with Alex Smith. Champions League, FA Cup, and Carabao Cup. It only looks like the English Premier Division is missing from there. Let's look at his career stats. This is what I was expecting. Tons of goals, tons of assists, amazing player of the match awards, super high average ratings. This is the perfect player. And he has broken into the England squad, of course, 18 caps and 2 goals for our perfect player. Alex Smith, with just the 5 caps and 0 goals, I was expecting more from him. Again, we froze his attributes, so he has a 192 overall current rating. And looking at England, looking at their history, it looks like they did get a second World Cup. I don't think it would have been with either of our perfect players. They did win that European Football Championship and that South American European Cup. And England did win the 2022 World Cup, so that would have been before either of our players were in the England squad. So when we go forward later, we'll check the 2026 and future World Cups to see how each player did there. So let's jump forward one more time. Let's go 5 years into the future to 2030, and then we'll go to the end of their careers and compare. Welcome to 2030. Let's see how both of our players are doing, starting with Mr. Alex Smith. And again, he's had a very good career, 89 goals and 69 assists, and average 7.65 rating. But I wouldn't say it's brilliant. Let's see. He's won some more stuff with England, the European Football Championship, and it doesn't look like they won the World Cup. But otherwise, I don't think he hasn't really won anything with West Ham. He was the English Players Player of the Year, so he is getting some individual awards. Best Player in Europe runner-up. Let's see how that compares to the perfect player. The perfect player, double-digit goals every season, 115 goals, 111 assists, 94 Player of the Match awards, 7.82 overall rating. Looking at his milestones, Champions Leagues, FA Cups, Community Shield, World Player of the Year, Goal 50, Ballon d'Or, English FA Cup. This is a player finally winning the EPL. It doesn't look like England won the World Cup, so I think the World Cup is probably the only thing missing from his resume. But overall, this is what I was expecting from a perfect player. Looking at England, they are currently in the quarterfinal of the World Cup, so we'll see how both players there do, and we'll see how the World Cup ends up going at the end of their career. So we'll look at all the World Cups and see how they did there. But if we look at their history overview, look at the World Cup, it was actually won by Brazil previously. That's interesting. With England not even being in the top three. Wow, that might be a little bit disappointing for England, given that they have two of the best players in the world. All right, let's go to the end of each of their careers and take a look at their careers as a whole. We are at the end of both of their careers. So let's start with Mr. Alex Smith. He ended up having 65 appearances and 16 goals for England. He stayed with West Ham for the entirety of his career, 400 appearances in the EPL and 97 total goals. Overall, not too bad, but I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with how he did club-wise. He did end up winning a World Cup in 2030, so England went on to go win the World Cup, and he did win his European Football Championship, but only a Europa League and a Carabao Cup with West Ham. No other real big English Premier Divisions, no Champions Leagues, no FA Cups. Very good for West Ham. However, maybe a little bit disappointing. And as far as individual awards, he won English Football of the Year, Players Player of the Year, England Player of the Year, and a number of runner-ups, but I think we're going to see a lot better from our perfect player. And our perfect player is still kicking around, but this is the last time we see him in the game. 212 caps and 57 goals, so an outstanding career there. Looking at his career stats, they're absolutely insane. This is what we expect from a perfect player. 327 league goals, 314 assists, 7.85 overall rating. He did stay at Liverpool for his entire career, but I think that means he's going to have won quite a few trophies. If we look at his biography, wow. Our 60 competition wins, Club World Championship, 3 World Cups, matching Pele for most World Cups all time, 2 European Football Championships, 7 Champions Leagues, 5 Super Cups, 9 English FA Cups, Carabao Cup, Community Shield, European South American Cup, European International League, and 11 English Premier Division titles. This is what we're expecting from the perfect player. I was curious to see how both players did in the World Cup, and the perfect player was the best player in the World Cup 3 times. No surprise there. He was also named the best young player in 2026. And if we look at the Golden Boot, I'm curious to see if any of them won it. And it doesn't look like any of them won the Golden Boot. So we didn't get a Golden Boot, but 3 Best Player awards and a Young Player award for our perfect player. But I didn't see anything for Alex Smith. And looking at the World Player of the Year awards, they've been dominated by our perfect player. I'm sure being English has helped him in this sense. I'm not going to even count how many that is, but from 2025 to 2042, I think that's 17 years, he won the World Player of the Year award 17 times. That's nuts. And as far as the Ballon d'Or is concerned, exactly the same. About 17 Ballon d'Ors in a row. I'll tell you what, I don't think that our goal 50, exact same thing. I don't think AI, ChatGPT's Alex Smith perfect player has a hold up to what a real perfect player in the game does look like. So that's it. We asked ChatGPT to make the perfect player, and we compared their perfect player to an actual perfect player in the game to see how each would do. And overall, our AI perfect player had a really great career, but I don't think he holds a candle to what a real perfect player looks like within the game. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this Football Manager 2023 experiment. Thank you for watching. I really enjoyed making it, and we'll be back with more content soon. Bye.